Today marks the 1-year anniversary of walking onto my land to begin my new homesteading adventure. Now, oftentimes I get so wrapped up in day-to-day projects that I forget to step back and appreciate just how much I've accomplished in this last year. So in the interest of greater perspective, let's have a look at all that got done.
My starting place was 10 acres of land with no driveway and a small stump-filled clearing. The first step was hiring an excavator. He helped me to clear the existing opening, and we installed a driveway and a culvert and picked a spot for where my home would eventually go. After that, I had to get a place up to store my things, so I built a basic storage shed. The next thing I needed was a way to go to the bathroom, and so I built a simple composting system consisting of a device called a luggable loo and a wooden compost bin. After that, I got to work with my neighbor bringing down 3 big hemlocks that were on the land. It took a little bit of work to get the trunks cleaned up, and then we hauled them up to his mill and hand milled these trunks into boards. And then took some of those boards and built a couple shelves for myself. Feeling a little more confident now about tree felling, I ended up bringing down 2 by myself. I took a crack over the summer at digging a well with a hand auger and failed, at least for now. Then it was time to get back to building my home. I brought the excavator back in, and we built a foundation for the home using packed gravel and some really big stones. On top of that, I placed an octagon deck, which I assembled in pieces, 8 different triangles, and then used the excavator to place them on the foundation, insulated them, and installed a subfloor. Once the foundation was done, it was time to build my actual home. I used a kit called a yome, and with it I assembled the framing, installed the roof, raised it, put the sides on, and then installed some flooring. Now I had a place to live, and I needed a heat source, so I got to work on installing my stove. I built a brick hearth by hand and placed my brand new Vermont casting stove on top of it. For the chimney, I needed some external support, so I dug a big old hole, put my chimney mounts in, filled it up with cement, and then, with the help of some friends, finally installed the chimney. Since I didn't have time to cut wood from my own property, I ended up ordering some, and I decided to try a creative stacking technique and built 2 Holzhausens. At this point, I'd spent many months jumping in the lake and dumping bottles of water over my head to shower, and decided it was finally time to build my own outdoor shower, which I ended up using all winter. With my home just about done, all I needed was to build myself a bed frame to put my mattress on. With my essential survival needs met, next up was building a few niceties. First was a gray water drainage system. I took some big rocks and tossed them in the ditch my excavator had dug. Then I leveled things out with some smaller rocks, put in some drain pipe, plumbed it all up, and covered it. Moving inside the home, I decided it was time to be able to go to the bathroom inside, and built myself an indoor composting toilet. I also set up a simple kitchen, using a utility sink that I bought, and repurposing the box my stove came in. Before winter hit, I had time for just a few more projects, so I built an insulation box around where my utilities came out of my home. And then I built a stand for my propane tanks to keep the snow off them. Over the winter, I did some firewood work, and shoveled lots and lots of snow. I closed out my year by experiencing my first mud season in the woods.
It's pretty satisfying to review everything I got accomplished in the last year. And actually, it's one of the rare times in my life where I feel like I've impressed myself. Like I just look back and I'm like, wow, how did I get myself into a state to get all that accomplished in a single year? And there were a ton of things I got accomplished in the external world. But equally as importantly, there was all kinds of things that happened inside me, ways that I changed and grew as a person in this last year. I could probably do several videos just on all those different things that happened. So for this video, I'm just going to highlight a couple big ones. The first one is absolutely that I got a huge boost in confidence. And that's a little bit surprising to me because I didn't exactly come into this project with low confidence. For a long time now, I felt like I could accomplish just about anything I put my mind to. And yet, this particular year was so full of one difficult challenge after another, and many things I'm doing for the first time, didn't know how to do them, and a lot of them were really fundamentally connected to my basic survival that really upped the ante in such a way that when I got to the other side, I felt this whole other level of like groundedness in my own ability to get just about anything done, which is tremendously satisfying. Another way I've changed is this really deep feeling that things are going to be okay, even if this shit hits the fan and society breaks down. Now, this is really surprising for me because it's not like I've spent my life thinking like a prepper. I don't really think about these kinds of scenarios regularly. But it's also very noticeable to me how I feel differently having done the work that I can be okay if society breaks down. It's kind of like there's always been a low level of uneasiness in my life around that, having to depend on all the modern trappings. And now that I've handled all the things and I don't have to depend on it as much, I notice that that uneasiness isn't there anymore. The projects this last year revolved almost entirely around getting my basic needs met so that I could survive out here. And at this point, I've accomplished that goal. I could live this next year just like I lived last year and be fine. So this coming year, there's going to be a refinement to my goals. And it's actually the most exciting part of this project for me. What I'm wanting to do next is for each particular type of survival resource, I want to find the sweet spot, the place where I'm still connected to the resource. I still feel the feelings of connectedness and fulfillment that I get, say, from picking up a bucket of water and putting logs in the fire, but done in such a way that it doesn't suck up so much time and be quite so uncomfortable and inconvenient as it was this last year. So for each one of those, there's going to be a sweet spot that I'm going to be hunting for. And I don't know exactly what those sweet spots are, which is part of what makes it exciting is the discovery process. And I think it's going to take me all of next year to really dial that in.